All right, so tonight we're starting. Basically, it's episode one of Dog Pound Meet the Author, and it's been a while since I've done any type of interviews and that sort of stuff. But Garrett Holt, you've written. Actually, I'll just read through here. Garrett, for listeners who haven't discovered your work yet, what is Siege of the Forgotten Order, and why should they pick it up today?
Yeah, I would say it's a very interesting fiction book, but it's basically it's a post-apocalyptic story that takes place like 20, 25 years after the world kind of ended to some degree. And it really follows multiple special forces units, but one main one called the Shadowhawks. And what they're trying to do is like track down lost and missed weapons of mass destruction that were kind of discarded or stolen or whatever during the we call it the Great Sundering, or the Great War. And so they're kind of hunting for all these things, but really there's another unit that they're working with that's called the Desert Eagles, or they're basically the Israeli special forces or Israeli forces, and they have like an alternative motive. So they're kind of using these other special forces units to kind of achieve their kind of long-term goals, which is really nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction or WMDs or anything like that. So it kind of follows like most like a military thriller, but there's also like some themes of like obviously post-apocalyptic, and some also themes of like mystery and suspense in there as well. And it kind of leads, as you go down the story, into a little bit of cosmic horror, a little bit of horror in there as well. Yeah,
I like cosmic horror, man. I don't know what it is, Garrett, but since I started this fiction thing, and Garrett and I had talked a little bit kind of before we went live, and we're both history majors and poli-sci majors, so and we had that conversation of how much I don't know whether you call it easier, Garrett, or more passion and excitement to write fiction. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So as we were talking about earlier, I've been wanting to write a book for probably 15, 20 years. And I never got past like the outlining stage of getting all the facts and getting all your resources and all that. And then a funny thing maybe about 3 years ago, I picked up a fiction book. I never read fiction. It's always nonfiction. It's always very intense books.
Biography, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I picked up this post-apocalyptic book on at Goodwill for like $2, and I was like, I'll check it out. And I never read fiction, and it was actually a really interesting read. I have no idea who the author was, and I couldn't tell you the name of the book. I probably don't even have it anymore, but it kind of got in my head. I'm like, hey, I think I could write a pretty cool story about this. And then it's funny because I was thinking about it, and I wrote myself a few notes, and I'm shooting myself an email. I'm like out in the patio just hanging out, and then I'm like, by the end of it, like an hour later, I have written myself like 50 notes of different ideas and concepts and all that. But I think it's much easier, because you can make the world whatever you want it to be. And it's funny because as I was going through like editing and changing things and all that, I'm like, wait, I don't have to stick with this idea. I can change this, or I can change that, or I can change this person's name or their background or whatever. So I think it's a lot easier in general to write, for sure.
And it's crazy how big the world's become, right? I mean, you almost create your own freaking encyclopedia.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was writing putting these notes together, I started, I'm like, I need to get out of email. So I start throwing it in a Word document, and then it becomes its own section. So I'm like, okay, this is all the evil cult stuff. This is all the special forces stuff. This is what the world looks like. This is what the war, like each year of the war happened. So I have all this other data that I haven't used actually in my book, but it's good background. So to kind of understand the world. And then I have all the different characters, their backgrounds. And it's funny because you're saying, I think it came out to like 75 pages of just notes for the whole trilogy of or whatever, how long it goes. But I actually started writing the outline to the second book, and we were talking about cosmic horror just a moment ago. And the second book takes a whole different shift into cosmic horror. But the reason why I bring it up is I've been writing like the outline, and it's getting a little bit easier this go around. But I think I'm at like 90 pages of just outlining. I'm like, whoa, it's good. It's a lot of data.
Pretty intense, yeah.
Yeah.
How many pages is your first book?
I think it depends on the format, but it's roughly like 375, somewhere in there.
Yeah. When I decided to write, I did it, with my high school teaching background.
Okay.
I kind of did it kind of script methodology, so it's a little bit shorter. But what? How hard was it, to be able to dig into this and to do? Yeah. Do you do your own editing? Do you have a team together?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Just
Yeah. So, again, first time ever writing a book. Yeah, most of it I did my own. Putting it all
How many
together,
times have you been scammed by people that said, "Hey, we'll give you $150"? Damn, dude,
dude. Today,
that pisses me off,
yeah,
man.
and they pose themselves as like authors too. I had one today that was like, "Oh, it's so great," and then you start to get to like, familiar of what their profiles start looking like, or like what kind of pictures
Well,
and
they
their
say
background.
the same stuff.
Yeah, but I had one today actually that was like, oh, so what do you do to advertise? And they're like, they came off as like an author profile, so I was like, okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And they start talking about, well, I started doing this, and this person helped me, and my book sales doubled in the first month. And I was like, okay, you're a scammer, got it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I
So,
probably 100 different people have hit me up in one way or another, and I usually just like, no, I'm not interested. I don't have the budget for it, and they're like, no, we can work with you, like,
yeah. And that's why I like doing the grassroots thing. You know what I'm saying? Where you have a real collaboration because real people out there aren't going to say, "Hey, Garrett, I would like 9% of your sales." You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
right,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
So majority of the majority of the book, I obviously I wrote the whole thing myself, but I had a group of I think like 10 beta readers, maybe only 5 or 6 got back to me. Really good feedback. And then going into this, I thought like ARC readers, I thought it was more like a second version of beta reading. So I kind of my first round of ARC readers was kind of a mix between beta and ARC, and so I had quite a few people get back to me and some actually good feedback before I went to go release. One of the ones was it was kind of rough because it's like your baby, right? It's kind of hard
Yeah.
to see criticism at first, and you get defensive. So I had this one Navy doctor. He probably spent 20, 30 years in the military, and he gave me super thorough feedback, and a lot of it was critical, but it was constructive. And the first 2, 3 days of reading, I just like my stomach was like in knots, and I almost just ignored the whole thing. I'm glad I didn't though, because it was the best feedback I've gotten, probably better than all the other feedback I've gotten with everyone else combined. So it made the book so much better. And then I did an eventual actual ARC release. So I've had like a couple waves of help throughout, and then I've had some friends. I bounce like ideas back and forth. But with the editing and formatting, I did that all myself. I will say I wish I had a bigger budget because I probably would have gotten a professional editor for at least line editing, grammar, little corrections here and there, because I have gotten some feedback that, I probably should have done a line, additional editing. But so I am going back and doing it myself in addition, but it takes time. And obviously, unfortunately, anyone that has a, paperback or a physical copy, will have the newest version, but
Well, it's one of those things. Now, what inspired you to write this specific book? Siege of the Forgotten Order, and I'm going to guess that it'll be a pretty lengthy series, right?
yeah, so I mean, the plan was 3 books and then a prequel. But now that I'm writing the outline for the second book, it could be longer. So kind of have to see. It's kind of fun with the first book and second book. It almost writes itself in some ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre because I was talking to a good friend the other day, and he's like, "Oh, how's outline coming and all this stuff?" And I was like, it's weird. Like the story's writing itself, and the characters are like telling me what to write. Like I hear, voices. No,
Yeah, right behind us. No, I'm just messing.
yeah. And so a little bit more of my background. So I also have a master's in intelligence studies and operations. So, and I work for the Navy. And so I've always been fascinated with military and military history and all that. And so I wanted to take something that I had like, some background in history and military and all that, put together with, with writing and with kind of my background and special forces and bring in some like the mystery and some post-apocalyptic, some other interests, all to kind of tie it all together. But the second book, like I've never really got into cosmic horror, but this first book kind of near the end kind of shifts into that naturally, just for whatever reason, and then the second one just goes like nuts into it. So, and normally I wouldn't like that, but it's coming out really cool. I think the second book is going to be really good.
That's kind of, like my second book in my series, and then I wrote it's cosmic horror. I gotta make sure I pronunciate that correctly. It's like cosmic horror meets comedy, man. It's
Okay.
funny, but anyway, when we're talking about developing post apocalyptic world and your characters and the development, do you kind of frame those characters off of living people, or do you make them up?
Um, for the most part, I make them up. I might have taken little characteristics of like friends and family or people that I know, but majority of yeah, I made it up from scratch. Yeah, and a lot of them. So each of the characters, I came up with a name, kind of their position, their rank, and all that. And then I came up with like a couple paragraphs for each one. But as the story goes on, obviously like their character develops differently than initially planned, or they have a different arc, or maybe they end up dying, or they end up being more significant than they were planned on. Yeah.
Now, who is Captain Gabe Davis, and what makes him different than any other military fiction hero?
Yeah, so he's the main character. He
I don't
is
want to give too much away because we want people to purchase this book.
of course. He's the captain of the Shadowhawks. So he's in charge of two different teams within. So there's Alpha team and Bravo team. Each team has six, including him. So there's 12 total soldiers in his unit. But to give a little bit of background, so his dad was also in the military, and he fought in what we call like the Great Centering of the Great War. And so he came back with a lot of like PTSD and like war stories. And so he kind of passed that down to his son, but also kind of like the military like lineage of like serving as well. But the main character is very he obviously obeys orders, but he's very cautious, and he's lost good men in the past to like bad command decisions or shitty intel. And so he's a little like reluctant, and he gets more suspicious of like command and like the other forces, like the Israelis, as time goes on, because some of their decisions or their orders aren't making sense, or aren't clear what really what's like the objective here.
Kind of feels like you're throwing in a little bit of some of the current world events. No,
Oh, I know. Yeah. What's funny is when I first started this TikTok account, like back in May or June, during the summer, is we had the first strikes from Israel and the U.S. on Iran, right? And so when that started happening, I'm like, man, like these TikTok posts are starting to look a little more realistic than that. And then obviously in the last couple of months, we've had much more military engagement. So I'm like, oh man, this is not too far off from reality.
It was really weird on some of mine, and like how CERN explodes in my story, and how my internet just frantically shut down for 10 minutes. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. So which character was the most fun to write, though?
Let's see.
To this point, obviously.
Yeah, at this point, actually, I would be honest. I won't say anything about the book two, but it's in book two that's really where the fun begins. So there's one character named Noah. He's in the Shadowhawks. He's like he's sort of one of their weapon experts or specialists in one of the teams, and he's like one of the younger. They call him like the kids. He's one of the younger special forces soldiers, but he's really impressionable. And he there's another character named Casey, and she's like their chief warrant officer. So he's really close to her. But his arc is really interesting because he slowly gets influenced. I won't say by what, influenced over time, and kind of his personality changes a little bit. And like in the next book, it's dramatically different. So it's his arc has been a really interesting thing to happen. And I wasn't, to be honest, in the second book, I wasn't really planning for what does happen to him to happen, but it kind of came out naturally, and it's been awesome. So it's gonna be really cool for everyone that comes to read.
Now, do you have any characters in your book, Garrett, that's based off your own personal personality?
I think ironically is probably subconsciously. I think the main character has a few little personalities of mine. Back when I finished my undergrad, I was actually going to join the military as an officer, and unfortunately, I got injured, so that just didn't work out. But kind of and was looking into like intel and special forces, so that probably flows a little bit into him. I don't know, maybe the name both starting with G was just subconscious, or if that was part of it. But yeah, he probably has like little bits of it in there.
Now, when we're looking at building, I mean, it seems like your worlds are brutal and unforgiving, right? How did you create that atmosphere?
Yeah, so That's actually where I started. Probably is with the world rather than like the characters or the main theme. Was I even actually? I don't know if you ever heard the CIA. Was that fact page they used to have, where they used to have all the details of every country and
Yeah,
resources.
the like the fact book, right? Or
Yeah,
the
yeah. So I literally pull that up and look at, and I kind of create. I took a map of the world, and then I sectioned it off into like what factions still exist, which areas are like irradiated and all that, and then I start breaking up like what resources do each of these factions have, what kind of weapons are they, like a stronger army, navy, whatever. And I went into such detail, and it's funny that you brought that up because I haven't seen that. I haven't looked into that details of my outline in a really long time because I haven't used a lot of it, but it's a good reference point. But it kind of helped shape like what factions. So right now there's the United States broken into multiple factions. The main one that we talk about is the East Coast Federation. So kind of what's left of the East Coast, and that's where the Shadowhawks are from. But it also has like different areas of Europe, their factions, and then Israel still surviving. But when I was building the world, though, it kind of helped to break it down into factions, put a map together, and then kind of like who's like the big boys in the area.
Absolutely. So, what roles do like ancient relics? So, and we could even say that even current, right? Because that could possibly be ancient. What do they? What role do those type of relics play in your story?
Yeah, so originally I was actually going to use like historical relics, like the Spear of Destiny or other things, and eventually just I thought about let's make a little bit, I guess, non-traditional. Let's go like not Ark of the Covenant, all those kind of. Let's make our own. So what I kind of did was, and it hasn't really been fully revealed yet, but there is seven relics. Each one has its own unique powers, but each one is part of a process to open up, let's say, like a gate to another world. And then you have to kind of do a ritual with all of them in a certain order, in a certain way to do that. And so in the second book, we'll explore more of the relics, their powers, their uniqueness. They're not necessarily good or evil. They're just kind of there, but they can influence you in different ways as well.
I like the idea of it being kind of a neutral relic. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know how it's going to sway, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you may not even know it's influencing you, right? You may start shifting in ways that maybe someone else will notice, but you may not,
Yeah. I can't ask you this question, but and don't answer it. But I kind of like it. Or is there any like crazy stuff that happens and the reader's like, shit?
Oh, absolutely.
He really did that.
Well, so a lot of I won't go into detail, but a lot of people probably think it's more just a military thriller with a little bit of like mystery, maybe, but it gets like really crazy into like their third or fourth operation, just good batshit crazy, and it's not for just like, oh, we're fighting like militants or cultists. It gets crazy, and there's a lot of like what the fuck moments of like very descriptive of different things they experience. We'll say that to not to give away too much.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely cleared up my interest now. Kind of going in this indie author journey, and I agree with you, man. I see these scammers, right? Or you see it on TikTok. Oh, get this AI gadget, and I guarantee you that you'll sell 1,000 books. BS, BS. Anyway, what has been the biggest challenge of being an indie author?
I will say it's probably the marketing part because. Especially if you don't have budget for much assistance, it's like you're doing everything, right? You're doing everything from coming up with the idea, writing, editing, formatting, trying to get published. At the same time, you're trying to market and advertise. And at least in my experience, so I'm using multiple. I'm using like 4 different social media apps, but TikTok's the biggest one. Is trying to get some kind of like traction on TikTok, right?
Have you tried Reddit yet?
I haven't. No, not yet.
I haven't either, and and anytime you want to collab, man, and come up with brainstorm ideas, I'm
Okay.
down, to help too.
Absolutely.
What surprised you most about self-publishing itself, the process?
How much work it was. Again, I've never written a book before. The editing process, man, just how many things you can keep catching or other people
Your eyes
catching.
like go to the sides and
Yeah, right.
oh my God.
Yeah, and it requires a lot of coffee, a lot. But Yeah, I would
What
say
brand of coffee, Garrett? You're not going to get away with that.
whatever has caffeine.
Okay.
No. What brand? It's kind of been all over the place. There was a really good brand that I used to get from up in Northern California when I would my wife and I would go visit, and I'd literally go spend like $200 and come back with just bags and bags of it. But it's like organic, super good stuff. It's like low acid, so it doesn't doesn't like burn. Yeah. But yeah, the marketing part is because you have to do such goofy shit, or you have to do constantly. Like I literally post 3 times a day, no, like minimum, in the morning, afternoon, and at night, just to get any level of traction. And then you also story post, like others, comments, and do all that stuff. And again, I mean, I've been doing it for over a year, and it definitely takes its toll of like how much energy it takes.
Yeah, I mean, all we got to do is we got to create an Instagram that has 40,000 followers, and then change it to a book publication. No, never mind. I'm being sarcastic there, but so if a new author asked for one piece of advice, what would you tell them about this entire process, man?
Yeah, I would say take your time and don't rush to do anything. Like really, don't set a release date unless you're absolutely sure you're going to hit it. Rather than trying to push it back or to rush it, is take your time and really focus on making the book the best quality you can. The marketing stuff will all come and go, but I think having the best quality piece of work and book is most important.
And people should give us some doggone reviews on Amazon. That helps.
Oh, absolutely.
How much?
I will say it's been hard to get. It's been hard to get reviews on Amazon versus Goodreads. Goodreads, yeah. I haven't had too much trouble, but Amazon's a tough one. So
yeah, I don't quite understand it, and maybe I need to go and do a review. You know what I'm saying, to see what the process is and all that sort of stuff. So.
I've also noticed, I don't know if you've experienced this on Amazon, sometimes your reviews can get deleted or removed for a variety of different reasons. If they think it's family, or if it's someone didn't actually buy the book, or whatever it is. I've had them actually reinstated, but it's a bizarre process.
Do you get like email saying we had to take this down?
No, it will just disappear. Yeah.
Thank you, top 1% of earners, for screwing us over. No. So, how important has social media been in building your audience? I mean, you have a pretty good following on TikTok. What are your other social media platforms you use?
So I use 3 others, but I will say that I have almost no traction compared. So I have a Threads, which I maybe have like 150 followers. I have a Lemon8 account with maybe like 200, and then I've got Instagram, which actually I started with. I had maybe 500 on there, 540 maybe. And I've had that Instagram probably like 3 years, or 2 years maybe. But the TikTok account is where it seems to be a lot more traction. People are more interactive, more supportive. They seem to use that app a lot more, and that's where I get way more. I spent way more of my energy now on that app versus the other 3. I'll still post to all 3 of those every day, but I'll when I go to comment, like, and all that and interact, I'll stay on TikTok most of the time.
Well, it's a lot cooler on TikTok, because you can play any doggone piece of music you want unless you go that business platform. I did that on my author page, and then I switched, and then I created my new Gartrek Spinks one. I like the music better.
Yeah, actually, I'm having that issue too. Is I have a business account, and I was debating switching back to normal because it's you're so limited, and for whatever reason now, it won't even let me search music at all. So I have to go with whatever is on the pre-selected like list.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a glitch or something or an error, but yeah, it's been happening for like a week or 2. Yeah.
And I wish they would create something where we could do, where it's easier to do voiceovers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that would be cool. But the behind the scenes stuff. Did any characters take the story in a direction you didn't expect when you started writing?
Yeah, actually, like I said, going back to that character Noah, I did not plan for his arc to go the way it went in the first book or into the second. So his story was much different. And like I said, it kind of wrote itself. Actually, most of them did too. Is kind of, as I'm writing, things just kind of popped up. Oh, that's a cool direction. Okay. It's weird though how that kind of happens. I'm like, or I'll be writing and like something radically different comes out, and I was like, huh, Maybe.
I kind of throw in. It reminds you of the old D&D dice, right? You just roll it, and you're like, holy crap, there we go.
Yeah, the options. Yeah.
What authors? And we've discussed kind of the nonfiction stuff, but what's kind of your favorite nonfiction go to?
Let's see. Honestly, I can't think of authors off the top of my head, but I will tell you the topics. I mean, the things I had been studying last 10, 15 years. When let's see, Afghanistan has been a huge area of study up until obviously the fall and the withdrawal of our forces. That was probably my biggest, and partly Iraq, so kind of the whole Middle East. But then I've kind of the last 4 years have really focused on the war in Ukraine, because I just find it absolutely amazing how Ukraine is able to still stand and do so well. And just, man, I give them absolute, props and credit for being able to stand up to, a nuclear superpower.
Well, and to throw this out there too, and again, I love conspiracy theories. I shouldn't as a history major, right?
I do too, though. I do too.
It almost makes you think that there's something else going on in Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
there's something else going on in Iran, and you're like, they hit all the gas and then they just freaking stop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny obviously, like, again, as history or backgrounds in history, like, you should doubt those things, but it also makes me like think like, well, what if, right? Like, well, it could be, it doesn't say, I believe in all the, conspiracy theories, but it's like, maybe it's an alternative like view on it. I was like, oh, it'd be kind of interesting if, XYZ was happening. Or I know there was a big talk when we invaded Iraq that we were going to seize like a Stargate or some kind of old portal or something. I'm like, okay, probably not true, but like, what if?
Dude, Garrett, now you're talking about, me really geeking out when you're talking about Stargate crap, man. But oh my God. So Star Trek or Star Wars, man?
Star Wars. Yeah.
I like it. Favorite character in Star Wars?
It used to be a Boba Fett, but that's a good one. There's too many. I'll just go with my old school. Yeah, Boba Fett, when the originals, original 3.
I was so ticked off, man, when I found out that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father.
Yeah.
Oh my God. 6 or 7 year old me, I said 6 or 7. Never mind. I'm sure my kids will be laughing there. But now, are there any secrets hidden in book 1 that the readers haven't discovered yet? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that makes some sense. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much, actually that's the hardest thing. And I had some feedback from beta readers and ARC readers. They're like, please give us a little bit more, hint at a little bit more, give a little more, because we need to have a little bit more before book 2. And with the ending too, book 2 is a cliffhanger, but I expanded on it a little bit more with feedback because it was too much of a cliffhanger, I guess. And so I was like, okay, I got to add a little bit more where it's not like going to piss people off and they want to read the next book, But there's definitely there's a lot of like things that are like alluded to or like mentioned slightly that are more explained in the second book, and that will probably explained a lot more in the third.
That's very cool. I just put to be continued, and it really pissed some people off. Anyway, so I'm going to do some fun rapid fire. You ready? Okay. Favorite post-apocalyptic movie?
Let's see. Movie or show?
I can be either.
Show. I would say Jericho. I don't know if you ever saw.
Is that on Netflix?
It was. They got rid of it a couple of years ago, but it was like a 2-part series about it was in Kansas, Jericho, Kansas, and it was basically about a faction of the government actually planted like nuclear bombs in all the major cities in the U.S. to bring down the government, to kind of bring it back to life in their own way. But it was very realistic in the aspect that they actually had this, like, the local town was trying to fight, stay alive and feed themselves and security. And they had to fight off smugglers and other factions and all that.
Okay. Favorite military fiction author? That's tough. My favorite military fiction author is, I think his name's Garrett. Anyway.
Yeah,
Did you get that? Did you get Garrett Holt? Netflix, if you haven't bought his book yet, do it. All right. Zombies, demons, or aliens?
That's a good one. I'd probably go with aliens.
Okay. You already said coffee, so I can't say energy drinks or coffee. Plot. Let's see here. Favorite character in your book? I think you've already said it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
One word to describe book 2.
I'll say crazy.
Okay. I was thinking luscious. Anyway,
Oh, that's good.
I like luscious. Garrett, if the world ended tomorrow and people could remember only one lesson from Siege of the Forgotten Order, what would you hope they took from it?
Learn to trust your team.
Extremely important, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to trust my team because you're on Team Dog Pound now, and I will be sharing your stuff, guaranteed. Share everybody where they can follow you in all facets.
Yeah, absolutely. Same handle everywhere. It's Siege of the Forgotten Order. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Lemonade, Threads, and then also off my TikTok account, I have a LinkedIn or a link tree with a newsletter and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, my
That's
email
very
is
cool.
also there.
Very cool. Would you be interested in coming on in a couple weeks to discuss your technology in your book? And I'm going to discuss my technology in my book, and then we're going to have an actual science major come in and tell us if we're full of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun.
You do that? All right.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any shout outs before we end our live here?
Yeah, I will say not specific people, but I will say all the people that were my beta readers who gave invaluable feedback, and same with my ARC readers. For anyone who's picked up a copy and read it, or anyone that plans to, just everyone that's supported me through this whole process. It's been a journey, and family, friends, my wife, yeah, any of my supporters, absolutely.
Well, it's badass, and I appreciate you being my first guest.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to come back on.